And hello and welcome to the Legends of the Wind podcast. I'm your host, Jurri Schenck. Thank you so much for joining us today. I know the countdown said Prophetic Mondays. That's my mistake. That's when we have our gathering on Monday nights for Prophetic Direct Ministry, and I want to clear that up. But today is a special day because we have a new guest named Rebecca Misek that is going to receive her prophetic story today. And I'm excited for those of you in the audience who are watching. We encourage you to participate in the chat. Let me see here. Where's my chat? Let's see. Where is it? Anyway, don't see it right now. But I'm excited because this is a special time for Rebecca and for you watching. We are a prophetic ministry that celebrates the creative arts. I'm a prophetic storyteller. And I get downloads from heaven of stories, of narratives that are kind of like dreams for people who I write for. And my wife, like this painting behind me, is a prophetic painter named Alisha. And together we work together to help other people discover their identity and destiny. Now, what is a prophetic story versus a prophetic word? Well, prophetic story is a narrative. A prophetic word is kind of a direct kind of communication. In the prophetic word, you're speaking directly. In a narrative of a prophetic story, there are hidden treasures in them that have symbols and meanings, kind of like dream interpretation or dream language. And it's up to us to discover those hidden treasures and find the application for them. That's a really brief understanding. Now, if you like what we're doing and appreciate it, please consider hitting the like button for today's broadcast and hit the subscribe button. We are pioneering this whole venture, and we're trying to get the word out and get more people understanding of what we're doing. Now, for those of you who probably never seen me before, I'm going to give you try to briefly tell you my story. When I was 12 years old, I grew up here in Wyoming. And on my 12th birthday, in the afternoon, Jesus came into my bedroom. Now, it wasn't a physical appearance, it was his presence. He came through the ceiling and wrapped around me, and he gave me a hug. And he said to me, "I want you to go to Hollywood and be a prophet." Now, I grew up in a Baptist church. I did not know what that meant. And I felt his glorious love. And I said, okay. And I immediately had a demonic attack right after that, where the enemy came in the room and knocked me into the wall. I had a very difficult childhood, lots of bullying, lots of difficulties in my family, and yet I was very creative and very intelligent. Leading that journey on, I ended up going to film school at USC in Los Angeles, where I got my master's in production. And there I learned about filmmaking from a studio point of view and how Hollywood worked, and it was a great time of education. And while I was going to school at USC, this is where George Lucas went to, just so you know. I was attending Kim Clement meetings in LA. I would go to every Kim Clement meeting I ever could. Now, Kim Clement is a prophetic minister from South Africa. He passed away in 2015. But what he did for me is he modeled passion and risk-taking and creativity in the prophetic arts. He was a piano worship leader and a singer and an amazing prophetic voice. And he's impacted the world through what he said. And while I was in film school, in my last semester in 2004, I was taking a creativity class. And in that class, I was doing dream journaling. And it happened is after 3 months, I had a dream where Kim came to me and he opened up my ears and eyes to do what I do on this show. And I started learning about hearing and seeing in the Spirit prophetically. But Kim told me, don't pursue the gift, pursue the Father and touch his heart. But I pursued the gift. And over that next 7-10 years, I developed into sonship. And so I've come to a different place where it's no longer just about creativity and the gift. It's about relationship with the Lord. Now, what I want to talk to you about real quick is there's a journal entry I have from 2008. This is when I started in children's ministry at Living Faith Christian Church in Northridge. Holy Spirit said, "And when the time comes for you to be ushered into my presence, I will help you believe that my story and my history are sound and of good shape. The people in Hollywood will come to you for this story, not a mere screenplay, but an understanding of the story that I'm writing. The ability to see and understand story is vital for my church and the transformation of the culture. To know the enemy, to know the heroes, to know the quest and the stakes, to take the risks, to believe in your heart that what you are called to be and to do are desperate and necessary. These are elements that must return to the consciousness of the culture. The ability to tell stories will open people's eyes, bring a bridge to the word and to the author. I am writing your story. I am perceiving your greatness and your sight and your sound. You will be able to walk into a room and tell people's their story. Prophecy and prophetic words will change. It won't be a mere description of their past in a literal sense, but a telling of their true character as I define it. You will speak to their past in story form, and then you will hand them their future and let them finish the parable. Now, the Bible talks about stories too. In Psalm 78, 1-4, it says, "Give ear, O my people, to my instruction. Listen to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth in parables. I will utter things hidden from the beginning that we have heard and known and our fathers have relayed to us. We will not hide them from their children, but will declare them to the next generation, the praises of the Lord and his might and the wonders he's performed." So that led to Legends of the Wind. And that's where the story started with this children's ministry at LFCC, and it blossomed out of there. I left LA in 2019 after working in Hollywood for 12, 13 years, and now I'm in Wyoming, where I grew up, with my wife, Alisha, and my daughter, Kylie. And we're doing this podcast now. Now, before we get going, I want to thank you for listening to me about this testimony and for hearing my heart. I love Jesus. I love the Word. I also love creativity. And we're just doing something new. It's a new expression. So Father God, thank you for this time. We ask your blessing on this time for Rebecca and for people who are watching. Let this be a time of encouragement and strength and anointing. In Jesus' name, thank you. So now, kind of give you a rundown about who I am and a little bit about Prophetic Story. I'd like to introduce you to our guest, Rebecca. Rebecca, thank you so much for joining us today. How are you?
Wonderful. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Cool. Well, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what your background is, and also tell us, why did you get a story?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Rebecca Misek. I am the CEO of Arrow's Edge Coaching. We love to help leaders replace those words of "I can't" and replace them with "How will I show up?" We help leaders to totally master their lives. I have two amazing girls that are just extraordinary in every way, and an amazing blessing of a husband. And I got to tell you, the reason why I'm here today, it's just that I happened upon you, and I saw it as something that like nobody else is doing, and everybody's doing the same thing. And I've been saying like the church needs to do something different. And this really got my attention, even from my time serving in children's ministry. And I was like, this sounds like an adventure. I think I'm going to go. I'm always up for an adventure. So I thought I'd really just jump in and do this. So I love the opportunity to be here. I can't wait to see what God has for us.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I mean, I'm honored. I'm honored that you are trusting me to bless you. We don't know each other. Have I ever interviewed you?
No.
No. When we were talking to each other over Facebook Messenger, you were asking me questions and I'm answering them. I never asked about you. All I know is that you have a ministry of some kind in Reading. And so I've never researched you. I've obviously not interviewed you. I wanted to have this story be as pure as it can because I wanted it to be a blessing to you. So I even today have not dug you up on the internet, and I wanted to be excited for you about your story. So thank you very much. Now, for those of you, I want to help you, Rebecca, understand what do you do? How do you receive a prophetic story? Okay, so the whole thing is that this is understood symbolically, not literally. Okay, and the idea is that this is kind of like dream language or dream interpretation. So the story may have a sense of reality in certain parts, but it's meant to be understood symbolically. Now, the story is a revelation, and you have power in this hearing your story. You have a choice. You have the ability to say, yes, I receive this prophetic story. Or you can say, no, I don't receive this prophetic story. Or you say, I need time on this and to marinate in the symbols of this story. So just because I give you a prophetic story from heaven does not obligate you to receive it. But if you do receive it, it's important to understand the symbols in it. So with the stories of Revelation, after I'm done reading it to you, we're going to transition into a time of interpretation where you and me get to unpack the hidden treasures in the story and see what is it that's God speaking to you. The goal is to have the application. What are you going to do with it? God's saying something to encourage you. What happens next? How do you receive it? Okay, so that's kind of like the process. And then afterward, after the time interpretation, I'll be sharing some of the things that we're doing here at Legends of the Wind and give you guys more information about maybe you can get a prophetic story as well. Okay?
Sounds good.
Do you have any questions for me?
Nope. I think I asked all the questions. You were just talking about how you weren't asking me any questions. I'm like, I was definitely interviewing you.
Yes. But I do have one question, Rebecca. What time is it?
It's story time.
There you go. You did it. Cool. Here's your story. It's a bit longer than other people's stories, and it's very significant, I believe. So sit back, get your journal out, take some notes as you listen to it, and I'll read you your story. Okay?
Okay.
It's called Dinner with the King. The dust and dirt on the ground reminded Rebecca of the violence against her heart. As she laid there, she could taste the grit and grime that came from her broken, bloody lip. This attack was a demarcation in her life, a place of painful remembrance and a place of monumental decision. It was when she decided to go on a journey to find her heart. The loss in her soul and the pain in her heart were some of the greatest memories that implanted her youth. Today was the beginning of the restoration. Rebecca, however, did not know how long the journey and adventure would be. It was a matter of survival, sheer grit, and an overcoming vision to become. Rebecca checked her mailbox in the morning just as she poured her coffee and still wore her pink bathrobe. It was a sunny day that had just begun. Rebecca could smell fresh pine and wildflowers in the air. The breeze flowed and the birds chirped in the trees. This presence, Rebecca felt, was one of wholeness and harmony. Something new was about to come and bring a substantial change. Yet the mailbox was empty. This absence made Rebecca sigh. As Rebecca walked back to her house, she saw a package on the front porch. How did I miss this? She thought to herself. With glee and excitement, Rebecca picked up the small box and went inside. In the kitchen, Rebecca took a box cutter knife and opened the brown package. Rebecca heard that a surprise would be coming her way. She had checked and checked her mailbox every single day for over 2 weeks. Rebecca learned of this promise by overhearing the whispers in the hallway of her workplace. Someone she couldn't see spilled the beans, and through discernment, Rebecca knew that this promise was true. As she unfolded the flaps and pulled out some stuffing, inside was a red card with a golden yellow wax seal. In sparkled green writing, the envelope had her name, To Her Majesty Rebecca. The woman's heart leapt, and she broke open the seal. Inside was an invitation card. The king requests your presence for dinner tomorrow night at 6 p.m. at his castle. Dress accordingly. Rebecca's eyes were wide open, and a smile beamed across her face. She placed the card on her chest, holding it close to her heart. Suddenly the ground shook, and the invitation card burst into flames and turned into ash. This immediate moment of destruction startled Rebecca, and fear gripped her to the core. Where did it go? My invitation! Oh no, it's gone! Rebecca rushed back to the package to see if anything else remained, but this cardboard box crumpled and turned to dust. A great wind blew through her home and shook the windows. This change of atmosphere frightened Rebecca. Her entire house rattled in the new storm. With great urgency, Rebecca ran through the house looking for any of her family to help escape. But they were gone. Rebecca was alone. The earthquake shook the ground more, and the beams of wood in the house groaned over the stress. The house was about to break down. Rebecca, still dressed in her mourning robe and slippers, and ran out of the house to find stability. She turned around to see the whole earth rattling the house. Rebecca cried out, "Why is this happening to me?" In a tremendous display of destruction, Rebecca saw her home come crashing down. The total loss in her heart felt too great, too immeasurable. How could she survive this? Overwhelmed, Rebecca sat on the ground next to the mailbox. She looked up at it, and with disdain, she said to the box, "You did this to me. The calling is too great. I should have never said yes." Tears dropped down Rebecca's cheek. She couldn't look again at the debris field of her distress. After what seemed like an eternity, Rebecca stood up and fixed her feet into her slippers. It was time to walk it out. Rebecca, still dressed in her morning bathrobe, walked down the road. The evergreen trees of the forest that surrounded her stretched high into the sky. Their beauty and aroma couldn't comfort her. These trees were like countless prayers that reached to the heavens on behalf of Rebecca. But even these silent words and expressions couldn't encourage her. The dirt mountain road continued on, and Rebecca looked for another place to live, someone to house her. The stroll on the pathway led her higher in elevation. There were some hills and valleys, and these difficulties caused Rebecca to gain her strength. No one seemed to notice that Rebecca constantly wore a morning bathrobe as she walked. They also didn't seem themselves wearing shabby clothes as well. It was the normal mode of life. Rebecca fell asleep at a coffee shop, and her head rested on the table. The clerk turned off the lights and let her be. It was permissible for her to stay the night. The pain still rattled her heart, and the day's walk exhausted her. In her dreams, Rebecca kept seeing a traffic light changing from red to green to yellow and to red again. Each time the green light shined, Rebecca tried to step forward. The sense of incredible frustration filled her. The constant message to her heart of permission granted felt like betrayal, and there was the cycle of sabotage that thwarted her. At some point, she just might give up. This dream repeated itself 3 times in her sleep. The only difference was the sun shined brighter each time. The smell of brewed coffee woke up Rebecca as she sat up in the booth. A variety of morning customers in the coffee shop sat chit-chatting away. Rebecca wondered about companionship here. She felt alone in this wandering journey. That was when she remembered the summoning from yesterday morning. She has a date with the king, and it's today at 6 p.m. at his castle. Rebecca saw she still had some time and left the coffee shop to locate a bus stop. At the corner of Main Street and Park, Rebecca found the city bus stop with a bench. There was a blind woman with sunglasses sitting there holding a white cane. Rebecca sidled up and sat next to her. Rebecca asked, "Do you know when the bus is to arrive?" The blind woman replied, "Any time, my dear. You better be ready. Only at the end of the world will it come. It's our ticket out of here. I should know because I have seen it." Rebecca asked, "You have seen the end of the world?" The blind woman nodded and smiled. "Yes, of course. When all things fall apart, there's no happy ending to the story. We just escape from here. Whee!" And she slapped her hands and stretched them high into the sky. Rebecca asked, "Why is there no happy ending? Do we just sit here all day doing nothing and wait for the bus to arrive?" And the blind woman replied, "This is all I know." Rebecca looked up at the sign on the corner next to them. It did say bus stop, but beyond it, Rebecca saw a traffic light that turned green, and the sign flashed walk. This image reminded her of her dreams, the sign walk. And so Rebecca stood to her feet and turned to the blind woman. "I can help you overcome. There is a happy ending to our story." But the blind woman couldn't hear her and smiled and called out, "Time to escape! It's the end of the world!" Something inside Rebecca's heart burned. The sense of awareness to go further and not settle for less sparkled in her heart a new passion. She was going to walk to the castle. Rebecca, in her bathrobe and slippers, continued on through the town. Off in the distance, Rebecca could see the king's castle. With this new vision in her heart, this caused her to gain strength and urgency. There is more. There is more, repeated Rebecca in her heart. Along the way, Rebecca passed many other citizens, all who wore dirty clothing, torn and ragged. They didn't have smiles on their faces, and many were unaware of their conditions. In the reflections of the store's windows, Rebecca could see her bathrobe. It was now a dirty pink, and her slippers had dust and grime all over them. Even her toes looked black. Shame now filled Rebecca's heart. What could she do? The sun was low on the horizon, and Rebecca looked at her watch. It was only 5:30 p.m. "Oh no, I'm going to be late," she cried out. For it was only 2 days since she answered the call. It was only 2 days since she left since her house came crashing down. Yet all of this journey and seemed like an eternity, and she felt like she was only beginning. Rebecca jogged up the road to the king's castle, hoping to arrive on time. Soon she reached the tall gate, which was closed and made of golden metal. A guard stood at the threshold. "Ho there! Who are you?" asked the guard. "I'm Rebecca. I had an invitation to the king to meet him for dinner tonight at 6 p.m. Where's your card?" "Well, you see, I lost it. I lost everything. I gave up everything I knew to come and answer the king," Rebecca cried. "I didn't even know who I had become. I only wanted to meet the king, and now I am dressed in this dirty bathrobe and filthy slippers. I am a mess." Rebecca crumbled to the ground and sat with tears streaking down her dirty face. The guard stood over and looked down. He pointed to the gate. "The king will see you." He stretched out his hand and lifted Rebecca off the ground. Inside the castle were countless flags and hanging ornaments with multiple fires lighting the way. It was the colors of gold, purple, blue, and red. The guard brought Rebecca through 2 large doors that opened up. Inside was a hallway with tables all over. It was empty except for the king. The guard left Rebecca at the entrance. The king called out, "Are you here, Rebecca?" Rebecca felt ashamed and alone while she stood at the entrance. "Come to me," said the king. Rebecca walked down the hall and felt increasing shame as she drew near to the king. She looked down, turned her head away, and closed her eyes as she came into the king's presence. "Please sit," said the king. Rebecca found a golden chair and sat down. She had her eyes closed tight and could see nothing. All she could hear was water splashing and the king softly humming a beautiful melody to himself. Rebecca, still gripped in her own darkness, felt the king's hands take off her slippers and the sensation of warm water and a rag cleansing her. She felt the warmth of gentle rubbing as he cleaned her feet. Incredible emotion filled her soul, and Rebecca cried deeply. "How could you clean me? I'm dirty." She opened her eyes to see the king washing away the grime. "My calling to you was not in vain. Your shame and bitterness is what I needed to redeem and heal you of. But when I received your invitation, I lost everything. I lost it all," choked Rebecca through her tears. "The loss is not my doing. But out of this decision to say yes, I bring you the healing you need. The externals all crumbled, but I had to build up the inside. Don't you know your story? You could have been passive and sat on the bench forever, but you didn't. You saw there is more to see, more to overcome. I too have overcome it. This is your story. Your identity is your story." The king cleansed her feet and wiped her ankles dry. He motioned her to stand up. "Take off your robe," Rebecca replied. "But I'm naked." Rebecca gripped her upper hem of the bathrobe with both hands shaking. She was in the valley of decision when suddenly her body underneath glowed bright, blinding white light. The dirty bathrobe fell off, and Rebecca shined brighter than the sun. As her glorious light adjusted and lowered in intensity, Rebecca looked down and saw she wore a shining gown full of ruffles and ribbons. The silky fabric glowed in multiple colors like a rainbow. Rebecca's beauty revealed her soul and spirit. I was wearing this all along? Exclaimed Rebecca. The king said, I am the father of lights. All my children are light. The pain, the shame, and the loss in Rebecca's heart melted away and turned into exuberant joy. She jumped up in glee and hugged the king, kissing him on the face. The king said, Now is the time to dine. I place your banquet table amidst all your enemies. Tonight we celebrate, for what was once lost has become whole again. You are my precious daughter, and I call you home. That night Rebecca sat with the king, and they dined at the most magnificent meal and drank the juiciest wine. She never knew such honor had awaited her. Rebecca's journey was full of loss and pain, and today she found her restoration. The king brought Rebecca to a map room and showed her the next assignments for her, full of battle plans and strategies. There was more work to do, and Rebecca saw she was more than equipped to do it. She gathered those with like minds and hearts, and together they pursued to set free more. The maps of the land showed various areas of deep darkness, but Rebecca saw how her own light could shine and bring incredible transformation to the land. Rebecca saw and understood the price she paid for answering the invitation, and in the end, through her own transformation, she said it was worth it all. No loss was too great, no pain too harsh, no destruction too big that the king could not restore. Inceptio. So Inceptio, right? What is that? We're transitioning now, Rebecca, okay? Inceptio is Latin for the beginning. You usually have a movie or a novel, you conclude watching it or reading, and it says the end. No, we don't do that here. This is prophetic. We're handing you your future. You have become a legend today, Rebecca. What does it mean to become a legend? Does it mean you're famous? It could be. Legends have a meaning. It's on a map. They show you the symbols of what things mean on a map, and it helps you figure out where you are. I have just revealed to you somehow your past, your future, and who you are, and I'm going to help you walk it out. So Inceptio means the beginning. And today, you are beginning anew. Unfortunately, I don't have access on my streaming software to my chat, so I don't see anybody in the chat. And I'm sorry if I'm missing comments. I can't figure out where my chat is. So it's just me and you, Rebecca. But tell me, Rebecca, how are you doing?
Doing well. That definitely resonates.
Tell me about it. How is it speaking to you?
First of all, I actually have a pink bathrobe that my kids love. It makes me squishy, and I actually do open my packages in the kitchen. And so that was really, really interesting that it came out with that. And the words wholeness and harmony really are like resonating words in my heart. I always talk about like next level wholeness. And it literally told my story. It absolutely told my story. I don't even know where to start. That was wild.
Well, great. Let's start somewhere. Let's unpack this baby. So what spoke to you the most at this point? Well,
it started by just feeling really seen by God, because like, you don't know any of this, but this has been my journey from 2018 till now. And even the emotions in the traffic light was really, really stood out. Even saying the trees were countless prayers. Me and my husband, we go hiking literally every weekend since we moved here 18 months ago. And we hike a trail every weekend, and the trees are very significant to me. I talk about this, man. There's this place that I go, and I just call it the Sea of Trees.
Wow.
And when I look over the trees, I have these encounters with the Lord. I call it a thin place. It's that place where heaven and earth really
Yes,
collide.
thin place.
Yeah, I go there all the time. Nobody ever, me and my husband sit there 3 or 4 hours without ever being disturbed. And it's just this amazing place. And I realizing what those trees are representing in my spirit and why they call out to me so much was just precious. And I was led high in elevation. I felt the Lord called me up to the mountains. We've done probably around 30 mountain peaks in the last 18 months. So it's literally called me up higher into the mountain. I go into the mountains to meet with the Lord. I go in the mountains to get my blueprints.
Wow.
I I meet with the King there, and my goodness, it's just everything is so. I don't know. I feel overwhelmed. Just wow.
Wow, that's amazing. Oh, I just figured out window to open for the chat. So I'm now just seeing
Okay.
there's a bunch in the chat. I found it. Thanks. So I'm going to go to the beginning. So we got looking forward to this. Dan, your husband, this is exciting to see what you're doing, Jurri, and come alongside you. Dan, thank you very much for coming alongside. Neil Kelly says, hey. Stephanie Grace de Leon, excited. Okay. What a beautiful heart to bring this needed ministry. Thank you, Dan. Andrew, is Andrew your brother?
No,
Or your
Andrew's
son?
my stepson.
Your stepson. Beautifully said. Thank you for sharing. We're on an adventure. This feels like a kid's ministry. Yeah, it can be. Absolutely. It started in children's ministry. I learned my voice fathering through film. See, John Eldridge talks about what do fathers do? Fathers bestow identity and they initiate destiny. And stories do that for us, right, Rebecca?
Yes.
All right, so cool. Can't wait to hear the story. It's story time. This is so detailed. Yes, I know. All in a pink bathrobe and slippers. This could not be any more on point. So profound. Jessica, thank you very much. I do it blind, guys. I watched Kim Clement for years. And I said, I want to do that too, but my own way. And then he says, this is super deep and encouraging. Hands, yellow, heart, red. All right, good, so good. Very beautifully said. Wholeness and harmony. Sea of trees. This is so amazing. Jen Wheeler, thank you, Jen, for being here. Okay, we're caught up on the chat. Guys in the chat, thank you very much. Please continue to add the conversation. For those of you who know Rebecca, add to her comments. Like, what is it that you know about her? How is this helping? How's this helping you in the chat? I mean, you can get a story too. So Rebecca, what else is in this story that is speaking to you?
Well, I actually have said it's worth it all. Like, I've actually looked back to all the pain that's happened. We're in the beginning of the story, and it's worth it all. And actually, it really gives me a cue into my current season that I'm walking into is my identity is my story. And I've been working on actually writing my story as a book. And so I've been putting like a section of my story and then what I learned from it. And that's what I've been writing about and working on. So that just inspires me to like follow that through.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Great. I mean, for me, this is a thrill because the credit goes to Jesus. I mean, I'm just passing it on. I mean, what I love to do is our mission here at Legends of the Wind is we want to help other people learn how to do what I do. See, it's not about just giving a word and seeing in the ministry time. In order to do the creative work, you have to go to heaven. And the first and only artist mentioned in the Bible is Bezalel. And he was a young man who created the Ark of the Covenant in the tabernacle. According to Jewish tradition, he was 13 years old. That's when a boy becomes a man in Jewish culture. So he was still 1 foot in childhood and 1 foot in adulthood. And he went to heaven and created all the things he saw in heaven as the articles of tabernacle. And his name means in the shadow of God. And shadows are what Jesus talked about, which are dark sayings. That does not mean they're evil. It means that they have hidden treasure. So I want to help people go to heaven. The Bible says that Jesus defeated death and that we're already seated in heavenly places and that the only way to the Father is Jesus through his heart. And that means that if he's already defeated death and we can go to heaven now, that means that we don't have to wait till we physically die to go to heaven. Why are we as Christians saying, when I die physically, I will then go to heaven? No, you have the opportunity immediately to go to heaven because you're already there. Your awareness is you're not aware of it. So creatively, the Bible says that there are books in heaven. Does that mean that there's a bunch of phone books or a bunch of dictionaries and just dry material? Or does that mean that there are books with stories that are about us? And so if we can go to heaven, get our story, we can understand the creative nature of God. Where did the parables that Jesus told come from? Right? And also, there's another thing. You've heard about people who leave the church because they're offended, right?
Yes.
Of course. But how many times have you heard someone offended? They left the church because they were offended because the pastor or prophet or whoever's speaking was speaking in riddles and stories that no one seemed to understand. I don't see that happening here. I want to reintroduce God's story. I want to help people know their identity and destiny through story. So that's what I do here, and God's birthing that, and that's what that journal entry I shared with earlier. And that's my passion. And I'm so blessed to give it to you, Rebecca. So what else can we talk about in your story? Anything?
Well, it's just to tell my story. In 2018, my life fell apart and it absolutely lost everything. And there was massive frustration. And it was a year of like just having everything plundered and everything shifted and everything changed. And just trauma after trauma after trauma. And
Wow.
so when you're talking about the start of this, I had trouble like holding it together because it's like, I felt like, because that was a ministry. I was leading a church at that time. And I felt like this was that invitation from the King, that partnering with God to really make a difference. And in that time, my whole life just changed. And then he picked me up and he turned me around and set my feet upon the ground. You know, like Jeremy Riddle says, he started me on this major track of healing and he moved me across the country to a whole different place and just really has rebuilt our family and has dusted us off and gave us a whole new mission. That it's so funny that we switched from one thing to the next, but it still carries the same heart and the same mission. Mm-hmm. It's just pouring out in a different way now. Mm-hmm. And so it just is, it really does tell the depths of the pain and the frustration. And it brings out the dark years that were faced and even the shame and regret of like, I was in so much pain for a while that I felt like I wasn't there enough for my kids, because I had just sunk into a really, it was just a really rough state. We had a church split that hit, and it was Christmas Eve that they decided. We had a big Christmas Eve party, and they all waited in the corner of the church till I ran around and cleaned up the whole church after them. And then they came, and then they all broke apart from us and then met at the ringleader's house to collaborate afterwards. And in that moment, I'll never forget it. My spirit actually left my body and I watched myself walk to my office just in shock. And it was like one of the roughest moments of my life. And then the next following day, I literally laid on the couch on Christmas Day as an utter zombie. I was totally laid out. And so you're talking about like right here, this was just telling my story of, my goal is wholeness and harmony. Like that really is something that I carry and something I love. And I really felt like that was the invitation from the King of is this ministry that we were leading that was just unlike other ministries in the area. And then I saw it all just fall apart. The invitation, it just all fell apart before my eyes. And I'll tell you what, I felt alone and I was wanting to know, why is this happening? I mean, that is like the cry of my heart during those years of my life. It really ripped me to shreds. But I ended up looking back at that time of my life, and I was like, I'm so glad that it happened. And and I know it sounds crazy, but I'm so glad it happened because it made me dive into my identity. Like when you're hearing things about yourself that are just so shocking and untrue, and it just made me dive in to figure out really who I am. And I tell you what, if that happened today, I'm a totally different person. I know what God says I am now. And so it really formed me and shaped me. I know a lot of people, they go through something really terrible or really hard, and they have this choice. You're either going to go in the way of like, what can I learn from this, or you're going to go in a way of, I'm going to get bitter. And I chose the way to learn and to grow, and it deepened my identity, and it made me the person I am today. It's like you can leverage those painful things in life to make you a better person, make you a stronger person, and you really learn and grow. And I'm all about doing that. And it really hit me of just the blessing that all of those dark times really are, and what it really built in me, and what it gave me is this season just that I've been in a bit of it. It felt like an isolation, lonely season, but it was actually that God is inviting me into his home, just me and him. And I spent about a year in that place where I was at Prayer Garden literally every morning, for 2 hours every morning for about a year. And to know that it was like I wasn't alone. It was the King was inviting me into his home to meet with me and take care of just me. And it just, yeah, that this is so my story. I don't know. It's like I could say a lot about this. I really would love, like, I kind of have that feeling of, God, what's next now? Like, now is the time to dine. The next assignments that are there. When you were reading, the next assignments were coming. I saw my team come around me, because every day they're like they're the best team I've ever had, and I keep being like, I can't not be grateful. Like I keep being so thankful every single day for them, because they're just so beautiful. Because when you've had a team that was not a good team, you just enjoy an amazing team even more. And so I've got this beautiful team, and I've got these amazing blueprints, and we're in this place where, like, we're ready to go. We're ready to serve. We're ready to really make a difference in the world around us. And we're all on the same page, and, using those hard times of life to really make a difference in other people's life. So it's just an amazing story. And it's got me in so much, like, not just hope, but excitement, because it's like, we've just started. We've just started. We've got territory to take. The invitation that crumbled doesn't mean we don't get in the room.
That's
and
good.
So it's just so beautiful.
I love that.
Yeah.
The invitation may have crumbled, but that doesn't mean we don't get in the room. That's that's beautiful. I love that.
Just sounded.
Wow. Well, we've got a lot of people in the chat chit-chatting here. Let me go back and see. Okay, where we leave off. The burning drive to step into the awareness of going further, and being frustrated at those that are content to sit at the bus stop. Woo! That says Jessica.
Oh my gosh, that is so a thing. Because people, yes, that's a thing. People, I've heard them talk about the rapture or the end times and all this stuff, and I'm like, that makes you get into this lack mindset of like, it's all going to end anyways. And it really just takes all the energy out of the mission of the bride, the church, the glory, like coming forward, being empowered. God didn't leave us here to be like this powerless army that can do nothing. He put us here to be healthy and wise and bring solutions and push heaven forward, like on earth as it is in heaven.
Yes.
And so I was like in that moment of like, no, we don't sit on the bench waiting for a bus to take us out of our pain. You see, people are like, I just want to get out of this pain. So come on, let's go. I just want to, I'll fly away, oh glory, I'll fly away, right? And I'm like, no, we've got a mission. We've got things to do. There's promise over our lives. And
Yes.
so, yeah, that hit me a lot.
Good. Wow. Dan says, this is super encouraging, and having walked this journey with Rebecca, it is so true and empowering. What a bright future is coming. And Andrew says, I would second that, Dad. Jen says, I keep thinking of Esther. God will use Rebecca strategically. She's a warrior in the spirit. Awesome, Jen. Jessica says, the fact that after dining, Father God showed her battle plans and blueprints and gathered like-minded people around her to help others find this healing too. We're on a mission. Yes. Tanya, I love we all have this precious identity, and God has the key, is the key. All right. Dan says, yes, Jen and Jessica, Rebecca is such a warrior on a mission to conquer territory in love. It is a beautiful journey. Tanya says, yes. Then Dan also says, yes, Rebecca, through the challenges, you have become so solid in your identity, never turning off love. You are a true inspiration to those around you. Hands, yellow, heart, red. Yes, this is so good. Yes, so blessed. He is calling us. His calling is about repentance. Stephanie says, we love you, Rebecca. Wow, guys, this is so cool because you have such support. You know, your support system is essential, isn't it? Thank God for your people. Really, thank you. And guys, thanks for checking me out and checking what we're doing out. This is so cool. I'm so grateful for this opportunity. You have no idea. I just want to help people. And the thing is, I've learned is that we are not called to be orphans. We're called to be royal sons and daughters.
Yes.
But you can't just go up to someone and directly say, did you know that you're a king or a queen? Because they can't receive it. It has to come by revelation. But stories, prophetic stories, is that vehicle, as we've seen today. You can tell a story, then guard goes down. Your imagination is engaged by Holy Spirit. Your emotions are attentive and ready. And then you find yourself in the story, living it out. And then through the unfolding of the story comes the aha moments of transformation. And that's how you get to know who you are, by revelation. It's beautiful. Cool. Well, we're going to transition a little bit now. Rebecca, are you good? Everything cool?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I want to tell you a little bit more about what we're doing here at Legends of the Wind. We are a prophetic ministry. We're a 508c1a. And my wife is a prophetic painter. She's done all sorts of different art pieces of artwork. And we'd like to bless you guys with the opportunity to potentially buy a Lion holiday gift box. This is pre-ordered. My wife did the painting of the lion, and this is something you can consider as a gift for many people. You can find it at legendsofthewind.com in our store section. And if you're interested, check us out there. And then also, please, if you want to have our own prophetic story, you know, we don't charge for these. And we're doing this to sow into people at this point. And we felt that people were a bit unnerved by charging money for a prophetic story, even though it's a creative art form, just like these paintings. So right now, until going forward, we're giving these away for free. We just ask that you would be willing to appear on our podcast. And if you want to have a prophetic story for yourself, go to legendsofthewind.com and request a prophetic story. Typically, our show's on a Monday night. I actually work as a reporter at a local newspaper in my hometown in Wyoming, and I have a very, very full schedule. So today's broadcast, as of course, is on Friday. We made special time for Rebecca because she was being special to us as well. So thank you for making time for me, Rebecca. But we just ask that you sign a release and give us a little bit of data about your age and general stuff, and then I will write your story blind. And then we'll schedule you and get you on the show. So let us know if you're interested in that. Go to legendsofthewind.com and request a story. Now, if you don't mind, we're gonna take a quick break for about a minute. And if you are thinking that what we're doing is touching your heart and promoting Jesus and getting people connected to his heart, and you want to give, we're a ministry, and we would love for you to sow into us. Consider giving and allowing us to help grow and build. So for the next minute or so, I'm going to show you our give page. And please take a moment and consider giving to us as we are building what we're doing. We're pioneering. This is something very special. So thank you so much for your giving. We'll be right back after a minute. Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody, for being part of the program, part of the chat. Rebecca, this has been a fantastic time. I'm sure I'm blessed. I'm so thankful. It is a wonderful time to share your prophetic story. And guys, thank you for your giving. Thank you for supporting us. We covet your prayers, and we covet all the support that you could bring to us as we get to meet new people. We're meeting Rebecca and her whole family today. It's wonderful. Cool. Well, Rebecca, thank you so much for being my guest. It's a real treat. It really is.
Yes, thank you for having me here. That was an amazing story, and I feel really blessed by it.
Cool. Thank you. Well, to close up the chat, Dan says, what a powerful ministry, using a kingdom mindset with creativity and deep meaning. We bless you in this. Thank you. Thank you, Andrew, Stephanie. Thank you, guys. Well, that's our show today. Remember, if you want to get a prophetic story, check us out at legendsthewind.com. And we'll see you on the next broadcast. Be sure to sign up for our newsletter. We regularly communicate that way. And if you haven't done so already, hit the like button and the subscribe. And please share this video. Let people see what God's creativity can do to impact people's hearts. Cool? Awesome. Well, Rebecca, don't hang up, but we're going to close out. And guys, thank you so much for watching. It's a blessed time. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.